Hello everybody, Jamie Starr here. I hope the audio is a little better. I think last video I had it up a little bit too much and we seem to be peaking a bit, so I'm hoping to resolve that. So today I have discovered I'm not going to say 2021, we're still early on in there. We're going to say this is 2020 peak privileged feminism. And, you know, with everything else going up by the election and everything, and I know the whole, like, wrecked feminist thing is sort of out now and all that, but I thought this was really good to cover. So, first off, I was on Michael Malice's Locals. I loved Locals. I love Michael Malice. So, shout out to all that. I have my own echoscape.locals.com. Please join me on there. It's where I'm going to be sharing my news stuff, my music stuff, and everything. So it's basically the me central, but beyond that, I want everyone else there sharing it. Use it instead of Facebook, use it instead of Twitter. I check that more than anything else, and I'm the only one posting anything on there now. So anyone else joining it, greatly appreciated. If you want to support, I have it set for $2. $2 a month. I mean, isn't that a great deal? I'm gonna have exclusives coming for just paid subscribers. I'm just not gonna start putting up paid subscription stuff if no one has a paid subscription. But, and then when you do pay, I'll do requests and stuff like that. I'm gonna have weekly live DJ performances. I'm trying to get a green screen for that because I don't want to just be standing in the same spot. Anyway, I'm ranting, trying to tell you guys what's coming. I drive myself crazy thinking of all the things I want to do all day, and you know, I'm trying to build up that spot, and I don't want to be doing all of this for nobody or just having it there, because then, you know, you're gonna come across some awesome site and just have to dig through stuff. Anyway, 2 minutes in, 2020 peak feminism, white privileged. Here we go. Let's get ready for this. The pandemic is breaking women, and now we have to have babies? Go to hell. So, I mean, this. All right, so I saw this on Michael Malice's thing. Back to that story. This woman was on there saying that she had matched with someone on a dating app, and then she told them they were a journalist, and they unmatched her, which I would do. I would do that if the person told me they were a teacher as well. Personal reasons. So then she said, guess whose criminal record I'm going to look up, because someone's not interested in a journalist, they must be a criminal. So we know we're dealing with a crazy person right from the jump, right? So obviously self-accountability, recognizing others as individuals with their own individual reasons, not a strong point for this one. So let's get into this. Birth rates in the United States were already declining when the pandemic pulled the rug out from under our wobbly-legged society. White genocide is a conspiracy theory as far as I was told, but okay, I'll hear you out. And now 2 reports from the centrist Brookings Institute and the other from the University of Maryland show whatever birth rates America had are falling even further. A new NBCLX article reports that the states that track birth rates are already reporting significant drops. That includes Florida, down 8%, Ohio, down 7%, and Arizona, down 5%. So, I feel like any normal person looks at something like this. Tim Cass just did a podcast with Gavin Raw, I believe it was, or something like that. And they talked about some of these things, and you know, there are factors going on within social dynamics that, I mean, as places build up technologically, people have less children. Our technology is going exponentially, so obviously there will be an effect to this. A point I'm going to make now, but we will tie back to it, is in places like Africa. You know, if you have this farmland and you need someone tending a herd and going to get water and someone else, you know, making stuff out of all of these things, well, you're going to have a, you know, 5 to 10 person family because you got 5 to 10 jobs to do in a day just for your survival. So you're going to have big families because you need the hands, basically. And I mean, that's not saying you don't love everyone and value everyone. And almost, I would just say, I would presume you value everyone actually a lot more than we value everyone in America. Like, here's one of the things I've always thought of is I've looked at, you know, growing up in a lower income, like, black neighborhood and stuff like that. It's very interesting because you see, like, the black people in the area, they don't have the money to move out and stuff like that. People would say they're trapped in poverty or whatever. Yeah, people don't have a lot, but they have each other. I mean, even this week, I saw friends of mine from high school doing a podcast, the Black History Month podcast, and like sitting down in a new cigar shop that opened up with a couple OGs from the neighborhood. I don't know the old dudes in the video, but I know their faces because we've all been in the same community for the whole time. But I would see these not richer, but the more upper class white families of the area. Well, you know, they seem like a very tight-knit family when they're all in the house together and growing up, but then they all become very atomized. They then might only see each other once a year. One's living halfway across the country, the other's living elsewhere across the country, and everything like that. Even when I was growing up, all of my extended family lived in New York. Now they've all moved because people have moved out of New York, and my family is just stubborn and not with it, basically. But it's always been a very weird thing to me. Like, I'm very much more of the idea, like, you buy acres of land, you have your family, when it expands, you have the land to then build them property on it, and just go with that. I mean, maybe it's very antiquated and outdated, but it's this whole, like, idea that was sort of drilled into us in, like, the 90s and early 2000s of, like, oh, you get to pick your family's just blood, you know, this and that, and it's all very there's something anyway. So, research by Philip Cohen, a sociologist who teaches at University of Maryland, shows not only are birth rates down, but so is pregnancy, Google-related searches. A Guttmacher poll found that 34% of American women are delaying pregnancy because of COVID. The poll also discovered that black women and Hispanic women were more likely than white women to state that because of the pandemic, they wanted to have children later or wanted fewer children. Now, if I had to just... Here's the thing, is you can read more into these. Like, I made the white genocide joke because, you know, white women, larger portion of the population, that's declining in the rates and all that. I'm just saying because, in general, you know, birth rates are normally something the left doesn't even want to talk about. But if I were to guess with those numbers, I'd guess most white women were delaying that anyway. And if you were to balance that against... you know, career opportunities, it's probably more like a large percent of them were waiting anyway because of career reasons or not finding the right mate or something like that, and it's just the COVID part that's a bigger factor. It's not like they were going to anyway. Women, America's only real social safety net, have broken. Here's the funny thing about a remark like that. And I'm not saying anything against women. I was raised by a single woman, so don't even go there. But it's amazing when you're, again, the lack of self-awareness, when you're writing an article calling women America's only real social safety net, you are then going to extrapolate onto why women can't do anything because nobody else is doing enough for them. So you're that little one-off, you know, your big women, America's only real social safety net, have broken. Oh, why did they broke? Because they didn't have enough support. So it's what? Your arrogance level needs to be taken down some notches. A declining birth rate in conjunction with the devastating loss of life with the pandemic will further erode America's social safety net. After all, who's going to pay in Social Security if we don't have a tax base? But that's exactly the lack of a social safety net that means women do not want to have children. All right, so now let me frame the rest of this for you. conservatives have a talking point, specifically directed primarily towards the black community with LBJ and the Great Society and all that, where they say they've tried to break up the family and essentially get women to marry the state so that they will always vote for state expansion because the state is providing more to them than their husbands. So for every point we're going to go through here, the question we should be asking is, why the government? Why not a husband? Why is this support being outsourced constantly instead of within a self-sustaining family? And god damn it, there's another point that the outsourcing of it, why the government, why not elsewhere, Great Society, I don't know, it will come to me. But it's, again, this weird sort of thing where we're not going to see mentions of husband, family, anything like that. Let me spell it out for you clearly. The gender pay gap is real, and it's worse for women of color. Women who take time off from work for children and find themselves at even more of a loss of... Oh, okay, so here's the other point I was going to make real quickly. We have had a rewriting of the history of feminism, women's suffrage, and stuff like that. It was not nearly as strict, and they were not nearly as cut off as most would have you believe. We know this. I mean, there's stories of Annie Oakley and all of these, women who accomplished great things way before the right to vote or anything like that. They could hold land, they could handle land. There wasn't office jobs back then for them to have. They would work. Who would work when men would go to war? The women. The women would work the factories. They'd be sitting on a conveyor belt doing some boring ass shit that nobody wants to do in the first place. That's the first point. Nobody wants to do these stupid fucking jobs in the first place, and you want to act like there was a fight over them. How absurd. So nobody wants to do these fucking jobs, point blank. So then the government was only getting to tax half of the population. Do you really think there was a person in government who looked at this situation and said, well, we got to keep the women out of the workforce because, we need money for things, and why would we want to double the amount of money we could get? Why would we want to do that? Who would want... I mean, if you have to spend money, why would you want to double the amount of money you have to spend? That's insane, right? So, to think the government was opposed to this, women were opposed to this. Women were like, I'm chilling at the house. Why do I need to be doing this, that, and the next thing? I mean, here's the question to ask the women who fall in line with this thinking. Why are you so comfortable getting these handouts and this safety net from some faceless, nameless fucking corporate government entity rather than a loving, caring person in your life? What? So, I mean, everything's just topsy-turvy, upside down here, and that's one of the real problems where I feel like a lot of these people are victims, because things are so fucked up way back in the line of these things that it's like, to try to deal with, well, the gender pay gap exists, well, this exists, well, yeah, but why is it like this in the first place? Who's benefiting from it being like this? Because all you're telling me is everything fucking sucks for women. And then if everyone says, okay, well, do you want to go back to the way it used to be? Because we got some stats showing that people were a lot happier with that. Like, it was a lot more laid back. People could afford to live. We were chilling. Technology wasn't where it is. But I'm sure we could try to rebalance these roles. And they're like, no, that's sexist. That's misogynist. That's oppressive. So we need to keep it like this because somehow I'm freer being miserable. So, okay. Gender pay gap is real. Worse, it's for women of color. I hate when these shrill white women parade around people of color and are like, this thing sucks, and if you want to know how bad it is, it's worse for the blacks. Like, shut up. It's just bad. Like, why? It's like an emotional arm twisting of them using someone else's experience that they have nothing to do with. And when I drop the final boom on this, you're gonna see why the women of color thing is even more insidious. America also has the worst maternal mortality rate among developed nations because the deep institutional bias and a lack of standardized protocols. Well, there's debates among the reasons for that. And this was before the pandemic. Now, with no schools, no daycare, no social support, and a probably no job since the recession is hurting women specifically, plus all of this stress and living in a house with a partner who statistically isn't doing his share of housework or Zoom school. Now women are supposed to just suddenly feel in the mood to have babies because America's tax base is eroding? Go to hell. Okay. So here's a few things about that. When I was going through the Twitter thing on this, a very bright woman pointed out, who is the they? Who's telling women get to making babies? What good is having a baby now if the tax base is eroding now and we're going to have to wait at least 18, if not 25 years for this person to start contributing? What are you? This is not a solution. This is this woman's biological clock, and this woman trying to justify her fight against it while pointing it outwards and saying, well, this is the pressure being put on me from somewhere, somehow, somehow, because of all these little factors that I can point to of COVID, and my husband didn't do 3 days of Zoom school, or this woman doesn't even have a husband. This, I guarantee you, this isn't even her thing. It's just some other crazy feminist, pandemic chores, homeschooling, gender, whatever. Oh yeah, so women are doing the stuff that women normally did, and men aren't as good with it. Yeah, men aren't as good at some things as women. I'm no surprise there. I'm not the one saying everyone is the same and has the same strengths and weaknesses. Go specifically to the hell that American women live in. Okay, so again, this is one of these lines I'm going to ask you to hold on to. This woman says she is living in hell. She's living in such a hell that she can't even have a baby. Where year after year we have to watch the theater of American political debate, our right to access medically necessary health care, and create laws for our bodies that are not based on science but a need for control. That's a paranoid delusion. I'm not even going to give that any time of day. I don't know what she's talking about. There is no debate nationally about, like, states are just increasing abortion laws left in New York. I live in up to 9 months. What do you want? What more do you want? Also, women are not given adequate health care coverage to go to a doctor regular. Your guy wrote the health care bill. What more do you want? Let alone deliver a baby or have. This is certifiably insane. I have a one-word thing that just shows you how fucking Africa, they have babies in Africa. South America, they have babies. Iraq and Afghanistan, they have babies. What are you talking about, you spoiled, privileged little brat? Seriously. What? All of human history, people have been having babies. All of human history, people have been having babies, and suddenly these shrill, privileged, spoiled white women have decided nothing is good enough for them to make a baby? Are you fucking kidding? And they're the same people saying everyone's so privileged. Yeah, you are. And now is a great time to mention there's no paid paternal leave in America, no postpartum support, no universal preschool. So, here's the real problem is once I lay it out like that everyone through all of human history, it's like all of a sudden, what's the point in getting into the nitty gritty of any of this? Because it's all just, okay, yeah, this is the whining of a child. This is a spoiled child who probably had her parents pay for most, if not all, of her college and has had it really fucking easy and doesn't understand how hard things really are for some people. Because what they're saying is, well, how can I have a kid if there's going to be no one else to take care of the thing I had? or the person I created. I mean, even again, let's think of how insane that is. Are there universal preschools in Africa? Who's taking care of the kids? Why is it? Oh, they have more community. They have more people around. Why is that? Oh, because everyone isn't out in an office working a 9 to 5. They are the, like, I mean, that's, who do you think these people were all through human history? How do you think we got by all this time with no postpartum support, no paid paternal leave, no universal prescare? Why do you think these things should be provided to you? Why do you think it's not your job to take care of your kid? I love absolute gall of the Call of the Letty of the NBC story, and I understand we are all emotionally depleted and sometimes putting words together is difficult, so let us not attack the poor writer whom we won't name. If I discover anyone went after him for this, what? I will cancel you with my own 2 bare hands, but this lead? Forcing couples to shack up for months with nowhere to go and only so many Netflix shows to watch may seem like the perfect recipe for a coronavirus baby boom. I know several people that have had babies within the past couple weeks. But this woman says, to whom does it sound like the perfect recipe, sir? To whom? Okay, I'll tell you to whom. A sane person who's living with someone they love. There you go. It's that simple. See? You're the one making it complicated. It's that simple. We are locked inside to hear each other chew every single freaking day, and now you're going to add chronic sleeplessness and ice diapers. Have you met a baby? Just one. Additionally, absolutely nothing about America puts women in baby making mood. See, here's the thing. This person is talking about couples who are in their houses together with nowhere to go and are in love. They love each other. They're not bothered by people chewing. Why would you be with someone like that? Why is America a factor in your sex life? Why is it not just you and your partner? Because you're worried about what you can get from everyone else besides them. You're more married to the government. Then, this is the embodiment of the conservative talking point. You are more married to the government than to your husband because you're wondering what about America makes you want to have a baby? What? Do you think people in Africa are thinking about the state of Africa when they're having a baby? Do you think people in Afghanistan, Iraq, Indonesia, wherever are thinking of the state of their country when having a baby? No, they're having a baby because it doesn't have to get that far. America as a place to procreate. Isn't that funny? It's like a Motel 6 or something. It's about as sexy as a bed of nails, and each nail has been personally sneezed on by Mitch McConnell. Why is Mitch McConnell a factor in your sex life, you crazy, crazy woman? I mean, could you imagine? Like, here, all right, to tie it back into things, this woman had a guy add her on Tinder or something like that, find out she's a journalist, and then unmatched her. And this woman is writing articles about how Mitch McConnell is a factor in her sex life. Could you imagine going to this woman and being like, hey baby, let's have a baby, and she's like, yeah, but Mitch McConnell, the bed of nails, America, and he's like, no, girl, it's you and me. It's you and me. What's going on here? Let's start a family. Let's have a baby. We're in the house together. Let me lay the moves on you. And she's like, but Capitol Hill, the state of Congress, and you'd be like, unmatch. You're insane. Unmatch. Like, there's your reason why you don't have to be a criminal. You're the crazy person. All they would have had to do is read this article and be like, I don't want to date this person. Why is this person going to be... I'm not having a three-way with you and Mitch McConnell. Sorry. Year after year, we have to watch men stand up in our halls of Congress and state and argue that women shouldn't be allowed to decide what to do with their uteri. You're deciding right now. Are you not? You're deciding not to have kids. So why like, this is the whole thing. Like, these... Like, you have to consent. Like, they're like, this woman is basically saying women are choosing to not have babies, we want to have baby, like, and then she's they have this delusion that Republicans are somehow, I don't know what, making their husbands rape them, pressuring them to have kids. Like, what? When it comes to women's bodies, policy in America is about as enjoyable as a family holiday where only the drunk uncle shows up and there's no food. Why is politics part of your sex life? And that was before America shut down. We had to handle COVID, blah, 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 dark reality. Okay, so you get the point. Marriage is plunging, divorces rates, you know, this, that, and everything else. And this woman is just certifiably insane. So then I'm going through the, Twitter things on here, and here's the funniest thing I saw on here, which made me decide to do this whole video. Someone commented on this writer, Lenz or whatever. I don't see the big issue regarding declining birth rates. Can't we just encourage more immigration? So now think of everything we just heard. Like I said, you have people in Africa that are having babies with little to no resources. And then you have these white women saying, I'm not having babies because there isn't enough resources. And then you have people like this, who, funny enough, is a black guy, coming and saying, well, why don't we just bring over the Africans? They've got more than enough people. So I comment in, so people in America can't have babies because they don't have enough money or resources. So let's import people from countries that don't have money or resources because they have lots of babies. Do you see what's funny about that? These privileged white feminists would rather import people from Africa for the sake of upholding their society because they can't birth their kids into luxury. And that's exactly what's going on. They can't have it super easy. Like, they can't have it super easy with everything provided and everything handled and, nothing to worry about with or without a husband. So then they would rather say, well, let's bring in the people who have lots of kids who don't have anything because I don't have enough, but we have more than they have. Yeah, but they have more kids. Like, the equation at no point ever seems to add up or balance out. And it's just the funniest, most, in-your-face example of just privileged white feminist women, and then how it ends up turning into some fucking crazy racism. So I just wanted to share that with everyone. Try to keep it short. Make sure you follow me on Locals, echoscape.locals.com, and have a good one.